Have you ever considered what the ideal body actually is? What does it look like? What does it feel like? Well, if you have, or maybe you haven't, welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. In today's episode, we're going to break it down from all four aspects of what the ideal body is. So if you're ready, listen up and lean in as we elevate your mind.
Hi.
Hi.
Sometimes it's hard
today because I feel like garbage. Everyone's sick, man. My clients are getting sick.
Really?
Yeah, like I have one who's traveling. He's in like 7 different countries and he's so sick.
Oh.
Another one, and she like can't, like her appetite's gone. It's just like one after the other. And it's this thing that just like knocks people out. Like I had one client, like she didn't eat for like 5 days. Like it's crazy.
Well, that's a good cut. Please don't do that.
And she lost weight.
Yeah. Please don't do that.
And then
what's it called? Well, I saw something because I get like these little news blurbs from Axios that there's like 3 different viruses going around right now. So maybe that's why or something that.
I just feel like, so I've felt probably for 3 weeks now that I'm like fighting something, but like it'll come in certain times. So like some days I feel fine. And then like last week is when I woke up and I was like, I feel like I'm really crummy. Like I felt like I felt this morning. And Mark's like, yeah, I've been feeling like I've been fighting something all week. I was like, well, thank you for telling me that.
Thank you.
And today is just like, oh my gosh, like I feel hot and sweaty and clammy and all the things. So
that's the worst because you're like, I'm hot, but I'm cold. I want a blanket and I'm too hot, but I like my feet covered, but then those are really hot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm just hoping that it doesn't turn into anything crazy. Weirdly too. So have you ever had a cold sore?
Yes. I used to get them. I've gotten them. Oh man. Like I can remember in 4th grade, I got like a really bad one. So I've had them like for my whole life.
Yeah. I did not have them until.
So you don't know the secrets.
I never had them. I got one probably 4 years ago. And I have no idea how I've not
contracted herpes.
Correct. So I've been so like sensitive to any feeling on my lip. And my lip last night was like tingling. And I was like, fuck. All day it was. So I bought some stuff and I'm like, no, it's not there. It's not.
You want the hack?
Yeah.
Is you put rubbing alcohol on your lip.
Oh, that's easy.
Because it dries it out essentially because like the Breva and those kind of like creams that I noticed for me, I'm not sure if this is everybody's experience when they have cold sores, but it made it almost like gunky, which is really gross to me and like wet. So I take rubbing alcohol and like every time I think about it or I feel it, I just put it on the spot. And then you can also, like, since you're close with your TIA doctor, I would just request to get some Valtrex, which is the herpes medication. Yeah. Or you could, or L-cyclovir. I think that's the generic. And so like anytime I feel one coming, I just take it. And it's more of a preventative.
What my girlfriend does. Well, it's just interesting how I didn't have, it's been 4 years. I had one my entire life. Like that's not normal, right? And it was because I was sick. I got sick and then I got that one. And it was right in the middle of my lip, so it looked like I had lip filler in. So I was like, but
no, I know your pain.
It's still like itchy. And I'm like, ugh.
Yep. I'm telling you, get rubbing alcohol.
I'm going to go buy some after this. Yeah. So we have to talk about something that is super sus. Okay. So I was watching I don't know what I was watching. Maybe it was like a Business Insider thing. I don't remember, but gyms are now going into this gym as wellness space.
Okay.
So
let's see.
F45 is teaming up with a doctor to prescribe GLP-1s to their members. And they're also going to have like more of like the recovery space. And I was like, no, absolutely no. First and foremost, I did a challenge at F45 And I was eating, I told you guys the story. I was eating between 1,300 and 1,350. And one day, like at the last week, I think I had less than 30 grams of carbs in the entire day. And you have to remember, I'm doing these high intensity interval workouts. I felt absolutely terrible. I was so hungry. Like, I just felt like I walked into one of my accounts and he goes, "You look like shit. Like, you look terrible. What is wrong with you?" And if we're going to be prescribing GLP-1s on top of this very strenuous workout, I told Mark, I go, being at maintenance and doing those workouts is tough. Then you're going to be on this thing that restricts your appetite. No. But yeah. What are you reading?
It's called Shed It. An F45. Yes, whoever Dr. B is, I'm looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
So, introducing Shed It, a holistic weight loss program that combines the power of prescription GLP-1 medications with the proven fitness and nutrition tools.
Okay.
I know, Christina. Tools of F45 delivered through the F45 training mobile app. If you are currently using GLP-1s, known someone is, or simply interested in learning more about prescription weight loss, please read on to learn more. Who's Dr. B?
Someone who's
trying
to make a lot of money.
Reddit is just popping off about it. So this was posted 2 months ago on Reddit. Wow. So
yeah, it's crazy to me. Like,
wow,
that this is. I'm just surprised how many people in the fitness industry are aligning themselves with this shit. Yeah. Like, again, it's a tool in your toolbox.
Yeah.
If someone wanted to work with us and say, "Hey, I've been listening to your podcast. I am on a GLP-1, but I want to do it right." Absolutely. You are welcome here. Right. We can work on your relationship with food, understanding your food noise, like all of the things. Right now, it's hard because your food noise is lessened. But what we can do is understand your shit that caused the food noise. I don't need the food noise to be there to understand how the food noise got there. So you're welcome here. But I'm just like, to me, it is all a gimmick to make money.
Yeah.
Yes. And I've said it before, and you guys might think I'm fucking crazy, but y'all had such an issue with the fucking vaccine during COVID, which, yes, was pushed on us by the government. And yes, who knows what was in that shit. And yes, it provided Big Pharma a lot of money. But guess what the fuck GLP-1s are doing? And they're going after your most insecure part of your lives. Obesity, being overweight.
Yeah.
And we are just like, yes, we love this. Pop off. No. If we can put that money towards putting healthy. Okay, hold on. I'm still going.
Okay.
We went to the farmer's market this weekend and I went to get some vegetables and fruits. And I was even surprised how expensive they were there at the farmer's market. And I was like, okay, we need to figure out a way to give money to farmers so that they can make it where food is more accessible to everyone, whole, natural, organic foods, rather than spending all this money on fucking GLP-1s.
Avocados are $3 now at Sprouts, just one. And it used to be 2 for $5, and then it was 3 for like something, and now it's just $3 for Mexico. One. Still.
I'm from Mexico, so now I'm more expensive.
That's good.
I'm a Mexican.
It's like that one comment that I saw one time. It was like, wow, I guess that body positivity movement kind of went out the window. Like,
oh yeah,
you know. So,
this girl was like, "Oh, it helps me with my." This is hilarious. I don't even know what I was watching. Oh, it was this girl who basically went from 135 to like 110 using a GLP-1, and she, on her fitness page, her name has the word wellness in it. And she's talking about how she cheated. And it's just a video of her like doing Pilates and like losing all this weight. She looks terrible. She's very like shapeless, skinny. And everyone's like, yay. There's a lot of people like, okay, you can't put the word wellness in when you can't even teach yourself the diet and exercise. Number one, you weren't fat in the first place. So you obviously have some body image issues. Yeah. Jesus. Number two, you're promoting this to other people and you don't even know what you're doing. Like you couldn't create the lifestyle which is very easy to do. We just do. Everyone thinks they have to do it in the crazy restrictive way, right? It's very easy to slow gastric emptying in your belly.
Well,
right?
And I think that's a good point of like what we're talking about today is of going from 135 to 110. That's such a goal focused on the scale as opposed to like how she feels.
Right.
Like she actually might feel better at 135 or maybe 125, you know, but so
one of the ladies goes, well, I use it for the food noise. So I go, well, food noise is technically a psychological issue, blah, blah, blah. I pop off on her.
Yeah.
And then she comes back, well, this is hormonal. It's not psychological. And I go, well, yeah, technically your stress can cause your hormones to change, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, I'm not even looking at it for weight loss. That's just a bonus. It's not psychological for me. And I'm like, okay, you're literally, I'm not saying it exact, but she was like contradicting herself. And I'm like, okay, whatever makes you feel better, honey.
Yeah. If weight loss is a bonus, so that's not your intended purpose, and I don't have the psychological problem of it, so then why am I taking it?
You're saying it's hormonal. Okay, so do you have PCOS? Do you have, I get that for, but there's other things you can take too, so it's just, there are people in the space that do not need to be doing, even Weight Watchers. Like, again, why has Weight Watchers been around so long? Because they keep evolving to your insecurities. But they're a failing company. Their success rate obviously is not great.
I wonder if ChatGPT has it on.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So if y'all are listening here and you are on a GLP-1 or want to try a GLP-1, do not do it in this way. It's harmful. Literally, it's harmful. I mean, it's quite clear to me when I did the F45 challenge that there are no parameters in place. My husband was eating the same amount of calories as me because no one told him that the challenge had male versus female calories. Yeah. That's how much they're involved. I'm fucking sweating. Oh, God. No, it's like, I'm like hot and then I'm cold.
Yeah.
That's why I have like these layers on. What did it say?
It says short-term weight loss, participants lose about 5 to 10% of body weight within the first 6 months, which is considered clinically significant. Long-term success, 2015, so a little outdated, but Weight Watchers participants maintain more weight loss at 12 months compared to those who use self-help methods. However, like many weight loss programs, regain is common over the years unless lifestyle changes are sustained.
Right.
So, Weight Watchers.
Yeah. I'm just fucking over it. I'm over it.
Yeah. It's so hard. It's such a mountain. Like I said, my girlfriend, where she's like, man, you guys have a mountain to climb. And I was like, I fucking know.
Well, that's what we're going to talk about with Michelle Carroll. We had a whole conversation on this. She's a PhD candidate out of Edinburgh, UK. Yeah. And
going international, Mrs. Worldwide.
Yay! We're Mrs. Worldwide. You made it.
I finally did it.
Yeah. And she's going to talk about body image because she specializes in body image in the fitness industry. Like that's what her, I think her PhD is studying, like how big it is. And most of her clients are actually coaches. That she's really just trying to do what we're doing, but she's teaching the coaches instead of us who teach the clients. She also has clients too, but majority of the people she has are coaches so that they can learn about what is a dysfunctional relationship with food, what is, issues in body image, how can you handle them? So we'll be talking to her next week.
Cool. I replied to that email. Hell yes.
Yes, I know. I saw. Speaking of things I also saw, yes, I was fine.
Okay.
On Saturday. So Mark's birthday's coming up and we were thinking about doing a Yellowstone theme.
Oh, cute.
Because he loves Yellowstone. And I was like, oh, there's that new place. There's a new bar called Not My First Rodeo in Old Town. So we went to check it out.
Oh, how was it?
It was fun. I think, we're going to do it. Or I was like, maybe we go to Prescott. There was this really cool tree house, but I don't think people would stay in it because 2 of the rooms were 4 bunk beds. Oh. There's not enough singles.
Well, yeah, your crew likes to intermingle too.
Yeah. Well, those people, only a few of them would be invited. Okay. So, what'd you do this weekend?
I wanted to slowly die every night because Olivia's sleep schedule changed, and so she's not sleeping.
Oh,
So
yeah.
therefore, I'm not sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's really fun.
Don't die.
Well, I'm not going to die, but it's like today I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, Friday we got some sushi for Valentine's Day, and that's so super exciting. Woohoo.
Yay.
And then Saturday I just prepped a bunch, and Sunday I went to this baby shower for like 30 minutes, and then I was out because she wasn't doing well, and I was just like, I'm just so tired that I'm just going to be here, support you. Hello, goodbye. So yeah, we've been sleeping every 2 to 3 hours overnight. So it's
fun.
Super fun.
Yay.
I know.
Wow. I slept for you today.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
To my clients, well, you won't hear this until Thursday, and I'll probably be in a body bag by then. No, Saturday. Saturday.
Body bag.
I'll be physically not well. So let's talk about it. The ideal body, how it feels, not just how it looks. So this was sparked by the book Thinner, Leaner, Stronger by Mike Matthews. Great book. Great book. I'm sure there's a new edition. I have the 3rd edition. So we want to shift, the conversation from not just what the ideal body looks like, because really that's all subjective, right? It's all like, I personally know that we both have been in very, very lean bodies that society would tell us is ideal, but I'll tell you, it didn't feel ideal.
Right.
And just changing that idea, because for our clients, we want to ensure that when they're looking at weight loss or body recomposition, that it's not just this, I'm going to lose weight, just seeing the scale go down. That's the only factor involved, because if they're doing it and they absolutely hate their lives, probably not something that's ideal. Right. So just wanted to talk about that. But there is this pressure, right, to achieve kind of what we have achieved before. The 6-pack abs. I mean, Amanda was like influencer status. Remember, you used to post those pictures. Am I an influencer yet?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Well, we both did it. And just the means to get there. Now, I would say for you more recently, when you were your leanest, you were doing it healthier than you have in the past.
Oh, hell yeah. And I actually looked better too, which was crazy.
Yeah. And for you, it was probably more sustainable. For me, it was absolutely not.
Yeah.
The last time I like really cut, where I like, had a photo shoot, shed down, it was a bit more sustainable because I was traveling. Right. And so we went out to eat on weekends because we were in different cities and we wanted to try different cuisine, but it took so much planning. Right. That's not necessarily sustainable, especially it's sustainable for me because I don't have kids. Right. I work from home. I can sit here and like do that all day, but not everyone else can. But I will say, like, it still the calorie intake during the week. I mean, I was eating things like I would make sandwiches, quote unquote, with rice cakes.
Oh, well, I mean, I like a rice cake, Sandy.
Yeah, rice cakes. Open faced. Turkey, the thin Sargento mustard, and then I'd have like berries on the side.
Ooh, that sounds terrible.
No bueno. So when I'd like to share like our stories about aesthetics. I'll let you go first.
Okay. So I would say mine, where I heavily focus on aesthetics. So let's take out the more recent one, but like when I was, let's see, probably 2020, let's go 2018, 17, 16 in that era. And I was like so focused on aesthetics, but I was not listening to how my body felt. And my body was telling me like, I don't feel good. I don't feel good.
Right.
But I got so much validation from being like, gosh, you look so muscly. Like you look very strong. Like, and like, oh, you definitely work out, like that, like really jived my soul.
Yeah.
But then I felt like this immense pressure to continue that, or like, again, not realizing that your body doesn't change day to day, but there are fluctuations day to day, right? Like some days you might look a little bit softer than others just because maybe you had carbs, poor sleep, overtrained, right?
I interrupt this episode to bring you information on our Sprinkling Your Mindset Masterclass here at the Mindset of Matter. The masterclass will be on March 25th, and it will be covering all of the things we talk about here at the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast and have you gaining understanding around your behaviors, your yo-yo dieting, your restricting and binging, your starting over again on Monday. On top of that, you will get a $10 early bird discount to sign up for our 21-day Food and Body Freedom Challenge. This is a challenge that is a mini mindset method on top of receiving nutrition and exercise guidance. This is a taste of what we do here at the Mindset of Matter, and you'll receive our 21-day challenge at $29 if you sign up between now and our masterclass on March 25th. So I hope to see all of you both in the masterclass and in our 21-day challenge. Now, back to the show.
And so when I would get like a better looking, quote unquote, body day, it would wreck my mind of like, what did I do yesterday to like make sure I can keep doing this? Instead of realizing it was probably a process over time, or maybe I actually didn't do anything yesterday that let my body just rest, but I didn't want to admit that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So it was so much external validation when I was seeking like the aesthetics, but contrary to that is like in that last year before I got pregnant, when I was shreddy wetty, like it was nice to be shredded and great, but like I honestly felt good because I was eating 2,200 calories. I was like working out only 3 days a week. I was, training people and giving back to them in a way, and so there was a lot.
So when you were in your leanest, like when we did that photo shoot, was that when you were in maintenance?
Yeah. I didn't cut for that.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell people about that. I think that's important.
I think I was retracking calories then, but I was tracking calories back in the teens, and I don't exactly remember where I was at, but it became really disordered. And so I recognized that then, and I was like, I don't want to do this. That was one thing I was like willing to do towards not being disordered. And so then when I started retracking, I was about at like 18 to 1900. And then I slowly started bumping up to about, I went to 2000. I still felt good, still hungry. Then, so I did it by 50s because that just felt more comfortable to me. So what I mean to the audience by that. So there's a couple different ways you can reverse diet or add calories back in. And I learned it from you, is adding 50 calories every like 3 to 5 days and just kind of seeing how I feel over time. Now there are different ways. Like some clients, I just add 100 every week and see how we feel. Sometimes it's 100, then we wait a couple weeks. And then some people out there actually just go straight back to the maintenance calories, but I don't find that. Yeah, I find that that's probably not best because your maintenance changed. And also that it's very fearful to go from like, say, 1,800 calories up to 2,300 calories all of a sudden. Like that creates a lot of disordered thinking. So when I was at my leanest a couple of years ago before I got pregnant, I was eating, I got up to 2,250, and that's when I ended up hiring Jenny, because I was like, I know I need to increase, but like now it's getting too challenging. And so Jenny is a nutrition coach that we've worked with. Yeah, just squeaky. So yeah,
you guys are hearing squeaking. That's Liberty coming to say hi to everyone.
So yeah, but I was only working out 3 days a week at most, and then walking, but it wasn't like 10,000 steps a day. It was, I think my goal was always like 8,000 ish. And then, but before, like my prior leanest, I wasn't even that lean. I was like muscly and bulky, and I was working out every day for hours on the day. And then like eating it was so weird because I was thinking about this the other day. I was only like, if I had chicken for lunch, I had to have chicken for dinner. Right. And then
why?
It was just a rule that I made. Like,
interesting.
Like no science backed behind it. So like, the next day it was like, well, I couldn't have chicken today or tomorrow because I would need to have steak for lunch and steak for dinner or something, some bullshit, So it's okay. She's fine. Let her squeak.
She's so funny.
You probably hear Olivia crying in the background.
Oh no, I can't hear her.
Oh, that's good. Jeez. Yeah. So my leanest self was actually better once I stopped taking away like the aesthetics of it and just started having fun,
Yeah. That's interesting. That makes me feel good too, because you looked amazing back then, and it's definitely sustainable. Right. And obviously preparing for pregnancy was a different type of plan, right?
Yeah.
And so, at that point in time, your body fat was lower. So preparing for pregnancy, we have to increase body fat. For me, it was very different. Again, I felt like when I was restricting food, I would eat because I wanted to enjoy these meals out. So my weekends were like 2150 or 2200, but then that made my weekdays like
So low.
1400, right? 1500. And it was rough. And like I said, I had to get really creative with meals. But I still ate. Like I ate, breakfast, lunch, dinner, 2 snacks a day. But again, it was not fun. It was I would say a means to an end. Like, I know I'm not going to eat like this forever. And now being at maintenance and like having all these awesome meals and all of this food, like I do really like the way my body looks now. For me, I want to get to that place where I am seeing more definition, and getting stronger, because I'll also say that my lifts, when you go through this kind of cut for aesthetics and you're not cutting, you're not putting on any muscle. You're just trying to preserve muscle at that point. Right. It takes away from your lifts, right? So now we're not as strong. My brain, unlike a lot of people's, can be like, oh, this is 8 weeks. Like, you can eat like this for 8 weeks. Like, it sucks, but I don't care that much. Like, my relationship with food is, while has been distorted at times, it doesn't have to be this elaborate thing, right? Especially if I know, like, oh, well, we're going to go to this restaurant this weekend and eat X, Y, and Z. But again, it was something that did mentally take over my mind, right? And it was like, okay, I'm not thinking about food all day, but like the planning and making sure that I execute it correctly definitely took over my mindset. I was working out 5 days a week, plus we'd walk everywhere. I think my steps at that time were like 10 to 12. Well, because we were traveling, so we just like walked. Mentally, I was just like consumed by the planning and such. So there's 4 pillars to what actually creates an ideal body. And for you guys listening, like you heard, like some of, like for you, I think when you were doing it through maintenance and reverse dieting, like you probably did hit most of these pillars. Would you say you did?
I did actually, except I would say the self-trust but that's where I got some support from.
Right. Yeah. So 4 pillars that we have are emotional, physical, spiritual, and mental, right? So looking at when we are in our ideal body and our ideal selves, or I like to even call it your sustainable body, we are feeling good in all 4 of those areas. So first one is physical. So when we're talking physical, we're not necessarily talking aesthetics. We're talking about how you physically feel. Yeah. And so one of the main ones for me, and one that I actually noticed lately that I'm trying to get a hold of, is pain-free.
Ooh.
Yeah. I just noticed lately different things are like bothering me. So when I'm looking at my workouts, like trying to incorporate more mobility, obviously how I eat is going to help that. I have a client who he has really struggled with joint pain, and we looked at his food and he was not eating barely any fats.
Ooh.
Like any at all. And so we added that in because I like to say like eating fats is like the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz, where he like puts the oil in the arm so he can move it. But anyways, for me, it's okay. Making sure that I am strengthening the areas of my body that, like my hip, for example, my knee's been acting up. I personally, right now, that's my focus of being pain-free. And then of course, feeling stronger. Like I want to increase all of my lifts, because I feel like since I've been more focused on aesthetics in the past, my lifts have definitely suffered from that.
Yes, agreed. That's what, so going back to like my 2017 ease, I was in pain all the time. And again, so body focused that I was like, how to work out, and I would modify so much of the workout just to like work around the pain, but still would have pain. Whereas, you know, in this era, like I don't have any pain. And if I do, I get it managed and I back off, or I make sure that I'm just doing more mobility, more movement throughout the day. That's kind of easy. And I feel like for me right now, feeling strong is important because honestly, carrying around a baby out like all day, it really does a number on your back. And so if that's hurting, then I know like, okay, I need to modify. But I also know like the ability to do that and prolong when it hurts, like makes me feel strong and makes me proud that like I worked out and focused on like my posterior chain so much because I'm able to carry her longer than I thought I would be able to.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, even just like the bouts of being pain free, right? So having those be longer, because you know, for me, my hip just sometimes acts up. Like I could be walking and it act up, but like just having like those times in between when that's longer, right, where I'm not having pain is helpful. And just feeling energized. You know, I had my hormones done and she goes, well, how do you feel? I go, I feel fine. Like right today I feel like absolute dog shit. like today
I feel like ass.
I couldn't imagine feeling like this. And I know a lot of women struggle with that, especially in perimenopause, like feeling how I feel today. Like I feel like I could sleep right now. And I know our clients struggle with that, but also they usually come in with a lot of that fatigue. And one of my favorite things to hear is that they're no longer like, you know, struggling throughout the day because we've taught them how to feed themselves and probably pulled back on a lot of their movement so that helps to re-energize them.
Yeah.
Energy is so important. We should not be feeling like we have to drag through the day unless you, of course, are not feeling well, or in your case today, didn't get sleep. Right?
Yeah. And actually, like thinking of like the functional impact of the physical self and like the confidence that you get from it, it always reminds me of a story a client told me. She is, I think she's probably 64, 60. No, she's 65 because that's Medicare, right? Because I remember she was excited about getting Medicare. But anyways, she like bought some like lawn chairs to lay out on. And she came to me after a training session one day and she's like, Amanda, I went and got these lawn chairs and I was helping my friend move them and I just picked it right up. And to her, that felt like really great, right? It had nothing to do with how she looked, but she was able to move something that's bulky and awkward and she didn't have any struggle with it. And then she also had bought like a kayak at one point. She's really active. And she's like, I was able to put the kayak in her Subaru. She was able to do that. So just like all of these activities she was able to do again and feel better about herself with that confidence that she built from our training.
Yeah. You made me think of something, you know, we, even in our 50s, you know, 40s, 50s, 60s, people are still thinking about physical from the aesthetics point of view. But your number one predictor of independence throughout your life, right? So moving into the second half, if you will, of your life is how strong you are.
Yeah.
Right. The more muscle we have, the stronger our bones. I also say like doing balance work and things like single leg movements, right? Is going to be helpful in helping catch you if you trip and fall. Or Libby gets in front of me sometimes and because she's still a puppy, like she doesn't understand herself in space. And I literally, there's been times where I was like, that could have been bad. Right. Yeah. But I'm able to catch myself and pivot. And like, I'm really thankful for that. And so an ideal body is one that can live independently.
Yeah.
You know, and that starts now, whether you're 20 years old listening to us or 6-year-olds listening to us, that starts now with being stronger and strength training and working on balance, working on mobility. And that looks better. You could be thin and in a fucking walker. Yeah. Or you can be in a sustainable body, walking freely, kayaking, putting that shit in your car, you know, being like my mother-in-law at 80 plus years old playing pickleball.
Yeah.
Or you can be thin and in a wheelchair.
Yep.
What do we want? Right. The other thing is not feeling like you're starving.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's a physical feeling. And yes, I tell my clients all the time who we do decide to put them in a fat loss phase, which has a lot of requirements to it, is you're going to feel hungry. And I need you to be prepared for that. We're going to increase the volume of your food through more whole foods, usually just through more vegetables is how I like to do it. And you're just going to have to kind of, we're going to mitigate it as much as possible, but it's going to be there, but we shouldn't feel that way all of the time.
Right. That's one thing that like, I feel like many times our clients come on and work with us and they have always been in that diet mindset, whether they were actually in a diet or not. They always had that mindset of, if I'm hungry, that's good. And while sometimes like you're talking about, if we are going into an intentional weight loss phase, you are going to experience more hunger, but sometimes too much hunger in that intentional weight loss phase is not good either.
No.
Yes. And so that's always a fine balance too, that we have to walk with clients. But even go ahead. I heard you.
No, I was just going to say, like, that was such a like brilliant comment, because you're right. People think that feeling of hunger is some sort of like
achievement.
Yes,
but physically you don't feel achieving anything. Like, think of when you're hungry, you don't have patience, you don't have the effort to put like into work, you don't have the effort to like come home to your husband or your spouse and your kids and like show up for them. You don't you're too tired to work out, but yeah, I'm hungry and hopefully I'm losing weight, and when I lose weight I look better. But you're not feeling better. And I think that's so important for women, because that's most of our audience, is to really get honest with yourself. It's like, yeah, you're hungry and you're losing weight, but do you physically feel better? Like, when we have clients in a weight loss phase, like their strength should not significantly drop. Like if you're noticing like it's really tiring to carry the groceries in the house, that's a problem.
Right.
And that's not how you should feel, because you have to think, if every time you're feeling hungry, well, muscle's going to be one of the first things to go. And like you're talking about, if I'm tripping and I'm falling, I need that muscle to catch me, and I need that muscle to get me up off the ground.
Right.
So
yeah. Well, I think of it too, you know, from a physical aspect, is physically, what do I need? And when you're hungry and you're like, well, I'm not going to eat because this means I'm losing weight, then you're not listening to the physical cues that your body is designed to share with you. So now you're telling your body what to do rather than having that relationship of listening to what it physically needs. And that's not ideal.
Nope.
You know, that is pressure, that is forcing your body into something that, number one, it shouldn't be, right? It's not human to do that, right? To not eat. And like we're saying, the other part is, not only are you not listening to it physically, so you're not giving it what it needs, but then what it does to you is, over time, it gives you the big middle finger, and it's like, all right, well, you're going to give me what I need. Well, I'm not going to take care of you.
Yeah.
And you fall down, you go boom.
All right. Well, I think the important part to touch on for this is the long-term like outcome that you're looking for when we're not listening to that like physical hunger, because hunger can feel physical too. It doesn't just have to be emotional, right? And so if we're constantly ignoring that, and then it's not like one day, this is the thing too, like with health that I always talk about with Michael and like the people I see at my office job, it's like, these people aren't just like one day waking up diabetic in their chair. It takes time and choices over days and days. Now, again, if you have a day where it's a little bit more indulgent, you're out, it's vacation, on your average, that's pretty minimal. But if it's constantly that, and so on the flip side, if it's constantly this cutting calories, cutting fats, cutting carbs, lower protein, I only eat this, and setting these rules for yourself over time, that's going to have an implication on your body that's really hard to kind of turn back from and regain, right? Because you've lost that time. So now you've got to work harder to regain that muscle, to regain that physical sensation connection that you should have with your body, and just to physically be okay with what hunger feels like, and to honor it, and by feeding yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that takes us to the next pillar, which is mental, right? And what we want to do in an ideal body is not be so obsessed with what our body looks like, and be more obsessed with, again, how we feel, what the functions of our bodies can do, and having appreciation for our body. you'll have someone who is even like fitness influencers. And again, we're going to have that conversation with Michelle Carroll about this very thing, that you might see them look a certain way, but you have no idea what's going on between their ears. Right?
Hello, listeners. We have the Mindset of Mommies program coming out March 3rd. In this group coaching program, you're going to get 8 weeks of foundational topics to give you the best pregnancy yet. This is for people who are interested in getting pregnant, who are currently trying to conceive, or if you're pregnant, and that could be your first pregnancy or your 5th pregnancy. In this 8-week series, what we're going to do is take you through weekly topics that focus on adjustments for pregnancy. So for example, how to adjust your exercise training through each trimester, which nutrition considerations you need to implement into your diet and lifestyle. What mindset shifts do you need to make through your body image, gaining weight, as well as your relationships? What support services should you seek? Do we need a pelvic floor physical therapist, chiropractor, massage, all the goods and ends? Also, resources. I've got a full Google Drive of resources for you to have access to. We'll also have weekly group calls. On these weekly group calls, they are recorded, so you have a lifetime of access to reference them. So if this is something you're interested in, again, we're starting March 3rd. Be sure to sign up in the link below, and let's get you started for the best pregnancy yet.
I thought if I got to, it wasn't even a weight, because my weight's always been high. Like for me to be as lean as I was at 139, like people would be like, what? I look like I weighed 105. But it was talking badly to my body. And like you said, I'd have a day where I was a bit more bloated, still the negative self-talk, still the wanting more. I wanted more. I needed to be better. And then, of course, like I'd already talked about, the obsession over maintaining that. That's a mental, it's a mental load. And for me, I can, quote unquote, handle that because I can have such a rigid mindset around food, but that's not a good thing, right? So
yeah, I have chicken because you just had chicken.
Right, exactly. Right. And so the just compromise, the planning, and I talk about this with a couple of my clients who've had a history of eating disorder, like the high volume foods. Like I used to eat so much cauliflower rice.
Yeah.
It was nuts. Gross. Cauliflower rice is not good. I just bought some rice pilaf and some quinoa, and
much better.
And so if you're trying to achieve this body and you're still talking very negatively about yourself, number one, we realize that no amount of weight loss is going to change your relationship with your body. That's actually up to you to change. And number two, if we are still in that negative self-talk place, then it'll never be enough, right? It'll never be enough. So we need to take care of it from within.
I think mentally for me, what is like the ideal body mentally is to say, like, I feel confident if I'm having a, neutral body day, like where I'm not super fan of how it looks, how I perceive it to look, especially. I think that's a key term, is my perception is different than other people's perception of how it looks, is not to get in the dumps about it, right? Like I just kind of look at it. And I think you and I both have a thing with the mirror where mine is like just staring at the mirror, like this isn't helpful. Like mentally, that's an ideal place that I would like to be. And ideally, I would decrease like how much I'm looking in the mirror over time, right?
Yeah.
And not being so focused on it. I think with the negative self-talk, ideally it would be minimized, or at least when I do catch myself doing it, I can reframe and go, okay, hang on here. Like, is that actually true? What's happening? What else is going on? Because for me, as the audience knows, is that I my history is to control the food and exercise when I feel out of control, right? And so for me, it's being able to recognize like that there's progress instead of doing things perfect, especially where I'm at in life with having a baby. Like I cannot do things perfect anymore. Like I may not get my workout in all at one time, right? Which would be perfect in my opinion. But perfect would be, our progress would be saying, hey, it's okay. I'll just come back to this set later on once, I've got a break with her sleeping. So I think recognizing that too is just the mental load that it takes to have this perfection, have this obsession with your body. Like that is so much to bear. And I'm saying that from a place of understanding because I too was there and I too still share some of that. But when I'm able to recognize like the mental load of reframing, looking at the progress, it just feels lighter in my brain, and mentally I just feel happier with that.
Well, and you're being compassionate with yourself, right? And ideally, an ideal body is also an ideal self. And when we talked about the 8 C's of the self, compassion being one of them, confidence, compassion, curiosity, calmness, creativity, courage. Like these are things that if we are in an ideal body, we should be working from. We should feel that in our bodies, right? We should feel confident. We should get curious when when we're talking to ourselves negatively. We should feel a sense of calm instead of obsession, right? And so mentally, if striving for what you thought or think is the ideal body is at the expense of your mental health. And when I say that, people are going to think like, well, I'm not depressed, but are you mentally fixated on the thing? And if you are, then it's time to reevaluate and reassess. Now, like you said, doesn't mean those thoughts just go away, but you are able to catch them, right? You're able to have compassion and curiosity towards them and then reframe them so that you can just think and feel differently. And so the next one does connect with that, which is emotional. So mental is how we talk and like think about ourselves. Emotional is the feelings that we have, right? And oftentimes when people are so obsessed with the aesthetics, they will try to, number one, they'll use restriction to ward off shame and guilt they have around the way their body looks, right? So they're saying, I feel guilty, shameful, failure, whatever about the way I look. And in an effort to fix that, I'm going to completely restrict and control what I'm eating so that way I don't have to feel, because society tells me if I look this way, then there's, it wards off these feelings of guilt and shame. But that's not how it works. The problem with that is our bodies naturally want to feel. Like we as humans, emotions are a part of our nature. And we need to feel those emotions. And oftentimes when we're not feeling those emotions because we're trying to control them through food, and this is also the opposite, right? Using food to numb out, right? But I'm talking, when we see people who are like, well, I hate how I look. I hate my body. I'm so shameful. So I'm going to completely restrict and, force myself to work out all the time, like those controlling mechanisms. What we're not doing is feeling, right? We're not feeling our emotions. We're not staying connected to ourselves. So we are disconnecting from the self, right? So the 8 C's, we're disconnecting from the calm. We're disconnecting from the curiosity, the courage. We are then going into outside of ourselves, which is looking for that external validation. Yeah. And that external validation will never be in your control. You might lose all the weight and get 0 compliments, and that'll just fuck your world up, right?
Or what happens when the compliments stop? Because at some point, like you're not losing weight anymore, hopefully, right? And at some point, people accept or recognize or become more comfortable with the body that you're in currently.
Or sometimes people start getting fucking annoyed with you. Yeah, I know my friends did. Because it was like I was the one who woke up every morning and went and had to do the workout because we had drinks the night before, and I had to make sure I got my 10,000 steps in before we went out. Yeah. But again, you're emotionally disconnected from the self. And we need to acknowledge I'm feeling shame. I'm feeling guilt. I'm feeling whatever it is.
Fear.
Feel the feelings. Yeah. Fear. Huge one. Huge fear, especially when you start losing weight. That fear, which we'll talk about on our next episode, that fear that increases because you're so afraid of gaining it back. There should not be a fear of that if we're doing this correctly. Now, in our program, I've seen people still feel fearful even though they've done the work. But that's because they were still so caught up in good, bad mentality. Like, oh, look at me. I'm losing weight. I had a great week of food. I did my good foods, so I'm good. Right. And put a lot of emphasis on the good side of things. So then that feels really good. And then if they slip, they not even slip up, that's not the word I want, but they have a food outside of their good foods, they feel like a failure. So then they feel bad, and then they have behaviors connected to that bad. And it's interesting to see when that happens. And it's something that for coaches out there who are listening, like if your clients are really getting caught up in it's hard because we want to like celebrate the good. We want to celebrate, when they're
progress.
Yeah. And we need to just be careful of what story are they making up about that celebration? Because if they're like, oh my God, I'm good, I'm perfect, I'm wonderful, that'll end at some point, right? Something will happen where that like good feeling burst, that bubble is burst, and that can, make them fall on their asses if they're putting too much emphasis on it. And as a coach, I mean, I celebrate when my clients are in a cut. I'm like, yay, look at, you saw the weight come down. Like your food looks really good. We had that. But usually it's, yes, we saw the weight come down. And look, you had cheesecake this weekend. And look, you had a balanced day of, nutrient dense foods and pleasurable foods. But I just want people coaches specifically to be aware of that, because it can become a big issue.
Yeah, I want to talk about the fear part from the opposite side too, of adding calories back in, right?
Yes.
Because that's huge as well. Because so for me specifically, when I knew I needed to increase calories, the fear was like, but I've got this body right now. And this is more in the recent body. I've got this body right now, like, and I kind of like it, but I know I need to add calories because I'm hungry. So I'm physically trusting myself, but I'm also fearful. And so I don't really want to. So I'm emotionally distrusting myself. I'm not listening to that. Or I'm letting that emotion dictate my actions. And that's where I say, it's really important to have a support system that is level-headed and isn't extreme and wants to work with your lifestyle as opposed to creating your lifestyle for you. Yes. Because if you're fearful to do that and someone's like, well, you have to add like if they're just discounting your fear, that's not helpful, right?
No.
So I think it's really important that people recognize, like, it doesn't have to be fear of what happens if I stop losing weight. It could also be fear of what happens when I need to add the calories back in, whether I'm in a smaller body, larger body, because even for my clients who are in a larger body and I'm looking at their calories going, okay, you're only eating 1,500 calories a day. Like that's not sustainable for anybody here. And they're like, but I want to lose weight. And it's like, but you're eating too low of calories to even do that, Oh yeah. They have that fear of going up in calories over time because their goal has always been weight loss too. So it's creating a trust. Sometimes you have to outsource the trust to someone else. So I always tell clients, like when they first come on to us, is you're just going to give me your brain for a little bit. And then slowly but surely, I'm going to give it back to you.
Love that.
And when we're slowly giving it back, we're building that trust of that emotional self and kind of finding out, why is this emotional feeling? Why is fear there when we add calories back in? And then teaching them again, resiliency with it too, of like, look, you did this. You did a hard thing. You did something you didn't want to do before. Let's move forward.
Yep. I love that because I have two clients, male clients who have a history of eating disorder. They're in recovery and they both went to programs that didn't understand that fear part. And didn't understand the brain part. No, it was just they forced them to eat more. And all that did, one of them, people pleaser, did what he was told to do and gained weight pretty rapidly, which only made him want to retreat back to his old ways. So the other one, though, all I did was make him go into his eating disorder.
Yeah.
And so one of them is doing a testimonial for like a interview for us. And we're not where we want to be calorie wise, but he has decreased his steps, almost 20,000 steps. He has increased
20,000.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah. Or 15,000. Yeah. They're still high, but we're getting there. Our food is about 200 calories away from where I want him to be.
Cool.
but we were able to do that in 4 months, right? Whereas another program probably would have wanted to get him to 3,000 calories. And we had a conversation about it last week. And I was just like, in my brain wants to be like, oh, we did this in 4 months, but that's about me, not him. And I said that to him. I said, you're going to be okay with where you're at right now. You're at a very healthy place. Mentally, we're talking about here, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, you're in a healthy place. And the more that you strengthen those 4 areas, the easier it is going to be. I go, honestly, you could probably eat the 3,000 calories right now because I know. I goes, I just wanted to work on, because he has some of the high volume foods were decreasing, right? And he stopped some. There was just so many variables.
Intricacies.
Yeah. And we were able to work on those. So he's now at 2,800 calories, working out almost like a MAPS 15. 6 days a week, but it's about 20 minutes. And he just does 2 lifts per day. And it's awesome. He's doing wonderfully. So I love that. No, and let's just talk about the last one, which is spiritual, which is aligning your body. And again, it's back to that self and creating that peace and calm, knowing that your body has so much value and worth before it could do anything. As we talk about with Olivia, like she's just a little lady kind of flapping around. Is she crawling?
No.
When do babies start crawling?
I don't know.
I don't want you to feel like I know when these things are supposed to happen and like your kid is like,
no worries. I have no idea when they're supposed to happen. I just kind of
and like, someone tell us
having a kid has taken away a lot of my rigidity in life. So
good.
I know. It's crazy.
They're spontaneous, baby. But just connecting to the self, right? And then that's in all aspects. I know I've said this a few times. Making your movement and your nutrition something that is mindful and grounded and connected. In ways, for some of you, you have not felt connected at all. You have forced your body into what you think it needs to be. And a good way to just start connecting to the self that has nothing to do with food or exercise is through like meditation or mindfulness practices of just reconnecting. What do I feel? And one of the first things we do in our program is have clients I should say, I'll have clients, I'll set a task in Everfit and say, what am I thinking and feeling right now? Just for them to check in, because they haven't done that. They have done whatever they think people want them to think and feel, right? They live their lives in a way of what they think others want from them rather than what they actually want from themselves.
People pleasy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that spiritual connection is so impactful, and that finding gratitude in the body it really is a game changer. So let's use my mom, for example, right? She never drank alcohol, doesn't smoke, walks every day. Now, yes, she doesn't strength train, but that, I finally got her to do some like resistance training with bands, but she got thyroid cancer, and, for her, she actually lost a ton of weight, like in a way that she didn't like. But thyroid issues can cause you to gain weight. And if we're, that can be out of our control. So if we're not spiritually connected to the self and finding gratitude in our bodies for all the things it can do, that'll ruin you on top of already like having cancer, right? So that spiritual connection is super important.
Yeah. And I think like oftentimes when I first hear a spiritual, I think of like God or religion or something like that. But what I would challenge the listeners who maybe don't go down that spiritual route, because I'm not one to, is to say spiritual is more of a connection of like your soul within yourself, or like the energy within yourself if you don't believe in a soul, and just listening to that and aligning with that and being like, how much chaos do you feel within your body, right? And how can we calm that? And how can we be centered with that? How can we go into like a Zen place with that? Which I know sounds kind of woo-woo, but at the end of the day, if you're still experiencing chaos internally, that's going to come out externally in different ways, because we're going to try and clamp down on it as much as we can. I think for me, like yoga nidra is a great activity of just kind of connecting with my body and feeling it. Like, so it just walks you through like, it's a body scan essentially. And then kind of creating like when I'm going through movement, like, so this week I'm on a deload week. So my mobility movement, I'm really just going to focus on feeling it rather than rushing through, because I need to get the workout in the time that I have. So I would challenge listeners to take, if you're religious and that goes that well for that route for you, wonderful. If you're not, then to challenge the other route that you within yourself have the power.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. Good. So ways we want to do this, like we already talked about, is mind body check-ins, right? Assessing how I feel, not how I look, right? If you start checking yourself in the mirror, that would be a great place to be like, I'm checking myself in the mirror. This is where I go in. As I say, when you get critical, that's when we get curious. How do I feel? What am I thinking? Where's my energy going right now? You talked about reframing. Tell them about that.
So reframing is one of my favorite things for clients, of like, tell me what you're telling yourself, right? Usually, and it's not called the inner critic anymore, but the kind of what person is talking to you right now. And then what's a different way that we can make this more neutral or positive? So for example, if I'm like, gosh, I look super fluffy today. I just, like my rings don't fit, my pants aren't fitting. Like, I just know I gained weight from this weekend. Then a client tells me that, I'm going to go, okay, thank you for sharing this, of course. And then I go, tell me, what's a different way we can say this? And it could say, I feel uncomfortable today. I had quite a bit of carbs and drinks and salts this weekend. So my body is having, a reaction to that, because that's what happens, but it's just a day. And I know it's not a true weight gain. Right. So there was nothing like, I know I should feel like I look great. You do look great. It's more so of, let's look at the evidence or like the science of this and use that to calm the nerves.
Absolutely. No, we reframe often. Like, people will send me something. I'm like, reframe that last sentence. Literally, that's the only message I'll send back. Like, I don't care what the content is. Like, well, I do care what the content is, and we need to reframe it, because you're in the process of like good, bad thinking, perfect fail thinking, or whatever it is. The other thing is just finding movement as a gift, right? And not a punishment. We should be moving. Like, that's what our bodies are designed to do. If it wasn't, we wouldn't have legs. We'd just be scooting on our asses, right? And so you being able to move your body to, walk, to hike, to get stronger. Like, the beautiful thing is you have so much power. You said that earlier, in how your body functions. Like, even if, like, I see people in wheelchairs, right? Maybe they've been in an accident, but they still are like, well, my upper body, I'm going to strengthen that. There's only a few incidences where you are completely out of control of your body. So like my dad, who has cancer, walks every day. He does his little, I give him some dumbbells and a little, one of those machines that you put on your feet just to get his body, his blood circulating, because he gets swollen from the chemo. So he's using movement as a way to combat some of the side effects from chemo, right? And just having that gratitude for movement and moving your body, because it deserves to be moved, but it also, on the flip side, deserves to rest. And that's when we talk about having respect for your body. We're not about the body love movement. We're body respect people. We respect ourselves, resting when we need to rest, moving when we need to move. Like today, I haven't done shit because I don't feel good. I'll try to go. I need to take Liberty for a walk, so we'll probably do that after this. But you said deload week, and I'm like, when was the last time I deload? So I might just do that this week and call it a day. So, and then again, just having that daily practice of like gratitude. So it's kind of funny because I don't know if I should feel good or bad about this, but I don't tend to get like sick. I tend to get like in between sick, or my body's fighting, right? And it's tiring and I feel terrible, but sometimes I'd rather just get sick, but I'm like, maybe that's actually a positive thing, that my body's like, okay, there's a virus here. or fighting it. That's why you don't feel great, but you're not like down and out. And having some gratitude for that. Even though again, I do challenge myself with that because I'm like, can you just like get all this shit out of my face? That would be great.
I would say for this, like the practicing of this is you can double dip is go for a walk, sit outside, go to a park, get some sunlight in, and just
bring a journal.
Experience what you're experiencing and check in with your body, reflect on the day, think of what you could be proud of. Like there is something you could be proud of every day. And it could be as simple as like, I'm really proud that, you know, I stopped work and went to the bathroom in between when usually I try and work through, right? Like sometimes that's the thing for our clients is like they just work through the day and then it's 10 hours later, they haven't ate, they haven't had any water, and they don't even remember the last time they went to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So it could be something as simple as that. It could be, I'm really proud of myself for, you know, I wasn't able to walk today like I usually do, but I made sure to get outside for a minute. And I think a lot of people want these gratitudes or these reflections to be these big kind of shows of love for themselves, but it's really about the micro adjustments that you do every day for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, good. Anything else?
No.
All right. Well, if you like this information or you feel like this is something that someone in your life would benefit from, please share this podcast. If you're feeling really good, we'd love a 5-star rating and review. Also, if you haven't already, make sure to give us a follow wherever you listen to your podcasts or subscribe to our YouTube channel, Mindset Mirror Connection. We're also on Instagram at Mindset Mirror Connection Pod. Yes. Sorry that all the beeping and the dog chewing and the baby crying, but this is our lives. And if you didn't learn this throughout this entire episode, we want to make sure you remember this one last thing.
What you say in the mind,
you see in the mirror. Goodbye.